she gives off is something that is so beautiful and so vital. And I think that if 100 of us leave here with the same positivity coming from us as human beings, how great would that be? Not just for this area, but for the whole world. I think that would be fantastic. It's beautiful. And but what I wanted to say personally was about Zionism and about the concept of Zionism, and that opposing Zionism is opposing colonialism. We don't agree with colonialism. We now accept that colonialism is wrong. We oppose supremacy. It's very basic. We oppose imperialism. So why, when a person opposes Zionism, are you called an anti-Semite? Well, in fact, it's the Zionists that are the anti-Semites, because it's the Palestinians that are Semitic people. And this is as much about Judaizing the land as it is about de-Arabizing the land and cleansing it of Palestinians. There's something in Israeli law called the grandfather clause, which means that any human being in here who happens to have one grandparent that is Jewish can become an Israeli citizen tomorrow. Doesn't make sense, does it? It just doesn't make sense. And it's an unnatural situation. This is a forced situation which just cannot last. It cannot last forever because public opinion is so strong. There are more anti-Zionist Jewish people today than there ever have been. We talk about them keeping people in the dark. Look at Mr. Vanunu. They kept that man in jail for a huge part of his life in solitary confinement because he was revealing secrets they didn't want the world to know. He was revealing secrets about the nuclear program, the nuclear weapons that Israel have that they tried to supply apartheid South Africa with. Mr. Shimon Peres. Yes, those documents came out because supremacists love supremacists. And they want to talk about us being anti-Jewish people. Well, let's actually look at what the real anti-Jewish people, what was their position on Zionism. In 1933, the Havara Agreement. I would suggest everybody here to check out what the Havara Agreement was. In 1933, the Nazi government in Germany made an agreement with the Zionists in the United States to move 50,000 German Jewish people to where? To Palestine. Whose interest is this in? Who are the people that are anti-Jewish? Who are the people that are anti-Semites? And who are the people that believe in equality? Who are the people that believe in supremacy? And as Jody said, this is the right side of history. No matter how many handsome, beautiful speakers they put there to represent their project, from Mr. Obama to anyone else, you cannot change the actual facts. You cannot change the actual facts. And all this talk about democracy, come on. You expect the rest of the world to forget about Lumumba. You forget the rest of the world. You expect the rest of the world to forget about Nkrumah. You expect the rest of the world to forget about Hamas, Morales, Chavez, Allende, Mossadegh. These are democratically elected leaders in what they call the third world who were actively overthrown by the United States. Well, let's talk about democracy in the Middle East. If you had democracy in the Middle East in 1948, it's quite apparent and clear that they would not vote for the creation of a colonial settler European state called Israel. In fact, if you took every human being from Turkey to Afghanistan today and gave them a vote, including Israel, including the population of Israel, said, do you think the state of Israel should exist? You took all of those people in what they call the Middle East and gave them a vote. You think they would vote for the state of Israel to exist? Do we really believe that? And this is something they know and they are absolutely clear about. You have democracy in Egypt. You have real democracy in Jordan, real democracy in Lebanon, real democracy on all of the countries. These are all countries that have been invaded at one point or another by the Israelis. The Israelis have occupied and invaded every single country they border with. This is not about security, it's about expansion. When you have over 500,000 Israeli settlers on the West Bank, it's about expansion. The state is expanding. It is not on the defensive. It is not in danger. No matter how many nice words Mr. Obama connects to it, no matter how much Mr. Netanyahu barks at the quote-unquote international community. This is not about defense. This is about expansion. So let's say you gave all of the people in Egypt, over 80 million people in Egypt, to vote. Do you think they would vote for a pro-Israeli government? Well, what happened to the Israeli embassy in Egypt? That's an embassy. They don't even want the embassy occupying their land. And why should they? It's not because they're Jewish. It's because they're conquerors. That's the simple issue. That is the simple issue. It's about equality of all versus supremacy of some. And you have a choice on which side you stand. And when we talk about the BBC, we talk about Mr. Mark Thompson, the highest paid man in the public sector in this country, makes almost £1 million per year. This is a man who in 2005 went and met with Ariel Sharon. What is the Director General of the BBC doing, going and meeting someone who his own government called him a war criminal? Mr. Ariel Sharon. What's he going doing and meeting this man? And what interest do you think Ariel Sharon has when he sits down with the Director General of the BBC? And that's our BBC. That's our BBC, not Ariel Sharon's BBC. That's ours. So what do you think he tells this man? What do you think his interests are in this meeting? He doesn't want to sit down and exchange, how's your mother, how's your father, how's your children? He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about Mark Thompson's life. Mark Thompson is the Director General of the BBC. What purpose can the BBC serve for Ariel Sharon? And what did they do in 2009 when they wanted to air the DEC appeal? This is the man that said it would damage their impartiality. What did he do when on a hip-hop show that airs between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., a rapper came out with the words Free Palestine? I know that decision went up to Mark Thompson. I know it went up to Mark Thompson. And they cut out the words Free Palestine. Why? Whose interests are at work here? And when we talk about even the Balfour Declaration, 1917, this was a letter written to a banker. This was written to a banker, Rothschild. And it was written because the British wanted the US Army to join them in the First World War. This is the power. This is the power which was there in 1917. So what kind of power do you think they are dealing with today? But you see, the difference is now, today, information is at our fingertips. And the world is so much smaller. Everybody knows each other. They kill someone on the West Bank. Within half an hour, the footage is on the internet. At a demonstration. It was never like this before. So this is the situation now that we are dealing with, and they know that the people marching onto the streets are showing themselves to be more powerful than their governments. They are more powerful than their governments. And when they talk about dictatorships in the Middle East, the most rancid, hated dictatorship in the Middle East is called Israel. It's called Israel. And that dictatorship will not last forever. And that is for the betterment of all humanity. Whatever words we attach to ourselves as all human beings, this dictatorship, which has damaged all of you that travel there, you meet Israelis, they are damaged by this. They are damaged by this. You think you can live in this sort of strange military-based type existence, be brought up in it, be fed it from day one, and be some type of normal human being. This is not normal. This is a constant state of combat. And they are damaged as well. This situation is wrong, and the world is waking up to it, and we are proof that the world is waking up to it. The fact we can even stand here and actually be gathered together on basic understanding that this situation is wrong and it has to change shows the BBC are losing power every single day. You are the media more every single day than ever before. They are less the media every single day. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Thank you everybody for coming. And please, if we can take the example and we can live that in our own lives, and we can work out ways that we can really, really correct this incredible injustice that we must change. We must change this situation. Thank you very much. Peace and love.
Hello everybody. I am so happy to be back in my own land of Palestine. I thank you all to stamp my passport without any problem on my right hand, and I have come with the key in my hand because all refugees have a right